All he does is catch the football. That is beautiful. That's why I came to West Virginia, man.
Ding dong, the witch is dead in Arizona.
It's a totally energized Hines Field, the power of the Renegade song.
The backyard brawl, man, against Pitt. Look at that. Oh, there's Ron Wolfley.
Wow! They came after Donovan McNabb, went after him, they played to win the game.
Everybody's going bonkers, even the referees.
Oh, those look like some sticky gloves right there. We talk about 50-50. Right now it's 50-50. Who's going to get it?
Game came with cover zero. Man across the board.
Pick up a flag because, hey, and then with the Renegade song, even flags don't count.
They're going to get an Italian army behind them right there, just like Franco Harris.
My goodness, that is pure guts.
Give me a pepperoni roll, man.
Hi, I'm Sean Martin. I'm from Bluefield, West Virginia. And when I'm back home in Mercer County, you will find me at my local Par-Mar store.
We had that golden boot pride at Par-Mar. There are literally hundreds of Par-Mar stores in West Virginia, Kentucky, Ohio, and Pennsylvania, and even more on the way. Download the Par-Mar app to save even more. And whether it's food, gas, groceries, or whatever, we have you covered at Par-Mar. West Virginia proud, West Virginia strong, and ready to serve you.
If there's not a Par-Mar store near you now, there will be soon.
Hello, my friends, and welcome to the Three Wolves of Football, the boys from Orchard Park, the Outsiders. That is a special night. This is the 23rd episode, still yet to be named, but it is the final one for the 2022-2023 season, our inaugural episode there, boys. Inaugural to the growl and the grunt. I'm going to have to go to you first there, Craig Wolfley. Derry, how are you tonight, and how are you feeling about this being the inaugural episode?
You know, I like the emphasis on the inaugural, show going on. The fact of the matter is I can see the wrestling kick in there with you, my friend. And, it's great. I've had so much fun. Look, this has been something we've wanted to do for a long time, just bonding together, brothers. And this has been fantastic. 3 different cities, and yet here we are together. It's great. So I'm just loving it, and I am sorry that it's coming to an end.
Well, stay tuned to the end of the show because we're going to give details about we're going to continue, but stay tuned.
Okay, you know what? I can't wait to hear that. So
I know you guys don't know. That's the best part about it.
That's going to be absolutely fantastic right now. This has been really fun. We get to sit around. We get to talk about the blood sport. We talk about ball. And most of all, we get to share our faith in Jesus Christ. And that, to me, is something that we all share, and that is a bond that will last for eternity, literally. Yeah. So you know what? I'm fired up, guys. What do we got tonight? Where are we going to start?
I'll tell you what. Again, our number one dude, and that would be Keith Hawkins with the Zeiler clan, our little Z girl, right? Well, he goes, or Derry, he asked her, and he said, listen, man, I'm going to go find this Turkey Jones tape and find out what he's talking about. And here he is, going into the archives of the NFL.
Saved his life. And, Terry, you go back to the 1970s when you suffered a serious head and neck injury in a game against Cleveland. Things have certainly come a long way since then.
Well, they have, Kurt. Joe Jones grabs me here and pulls me up and then just kind of plows me to the ground, and I had a spinal concussion, a contusion. I was taken off the field on a board, put into the in between the locker rooms. They didn't have one, so they took a door off of the locker room and put me on top of that door, strapped me down, no x-ray machines, and I stayed outside in the hall until the game was over. They took me to the airport, set me on the top of the seats of the plane, flew me to Pittsburgh. Then I got x-rayed and had no feeling for 2 days. And the third day, the feeling started from my toes and worked its way up. That's 30 years ago, folks. You got to realize that what the NFL has done today is absolutely phenomenal.
Say what? Are you kidding me? Hey, Derry, man, I'm going to let you just go with that. I pulled that story up from Keith, and I'm like, I'd never heard of this story with Turkey Jones.
Oh, yeah, that happened way back in the 70s. It was before my time with the Steelers. But think about it. Not only does he get suplexed by Joe Jones, right? But they take him out. They put him on a board, taking a door. All right. They moved him all around, put him on a door, for crying out loud. Then they take him to the plane. They put him on top of the seats. I mean, you think about what's going on today in today's NFL and how far we've come. The blood sport it's great. It's growing. It's becoming safer in all areas. But you think about what these guys have done from the earliest ages: the Joe Keps, the Bobby Douglases, the Sonny Jurgensens, guys back in the day when this is the kind of football that went on. And you know what? Kudos to those men. Those are great men that we stand on the shoulders of, and we leave the sport better, hopefully, than we entered the sport. And I think it's continuing in that era.
No, you're right about that, Craig. And let me just reiterate a little bit of what you said. It is amazing how far the league has truly come right now, and the way that it has evolved, and it's evolving for the better. Just the fact that Terry Bradshaw was put on a door, like you were saying, it blows your mind. Yet at the same time, that's the way that it was back then, and everybody knew it. And you would play the game as hard as you possibly could. And what I love about it more than anything else is the NFLPA has acknowledged the fact that they are standing. The NFLPA has acknowledged the fact they are standing and have stood on the shoulders of those that have come before them in their last CBA negotiation, really improving the lives, I would say, and the pensions of many, many people that came before them. And I think they're going to continue to do that. And I just want to thank the NFLPA for remembering the guys that came before them and increasing their pension.
That's really something else. That's going to be a great subject we're going to talk about coming up here in the future. Let's go with what I have to say about Terry Bradshaw. I have a great respect for him. I always have. Always loved him. Always loved hanging out at Saturday practices. Thought he's a kooky bird. Thought he's great, fun, entertaining, all of that. But I want to say this: my respect for him to take another snap ever again after that experience. It means the dude's is tough.
Yeah,
he's tough. That could have been a scary, scary experience. Being strapped to a door on top of seats on a plane is a story I've never heard. Blows me away. Anyways, kudos to Terry Bradshaw. I'm glad maybe he is a little kooky after that hit. I don't know. But anyway.
I think any of us would be a kooky bird after that hit.
Exactly. No doubt about it. Hey, here's something. Now, Ponyboy, a lot of stuff going on down there at the Cardinals, man. Before we get to the Super Bowl stuff, we got to take care of business here at home. And that's it.
All right. We'll see you soon. He's in there?
Now it's a done deal.
Hey, good. Let's go. There you go. Let's go. Ready? Let's go. I'm ready to build this thing for you. Yes, sir. I'm build this thing for you, man. Let's go. Let's go win. Got it? I got you.
He's a chest bumper. He's like, hey,
cool.
What's up, dog?
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny because there were some reports down here that that was staged somehow by the Arizona Cardinals. They actually orchestrated. That was not. I can tell you that right now. I know that for a fact that it wasn't.
You heard it here first. First
Yeah,
for the
that's
three
right.
months of football, baby.
Yeah, I'm just saying, I know that wasn't. I know the cameraman who was actually doing it. And it was totally off the cuff. It was organic. And suddenly there it was, Jonathan Gannon, the new head coach for the Arizona Cardinals. And he was leaving the building, had the opportunity. You saw Michael Bidwell say, you know what, he's down there right now if you want to go see. I love the fact that they didn't have Jonathan Gannon interview Kyler Murray It was the fact they were hiring a head coach, and then that head coach was going to work with Kyler Murray. That's the way that it should be, right? That's the way that it always has been. And this is something that I think is going to be really important going forward, because it's one of the reasons why I wanted a defensive coach to be the hire for the Arizona Cardinals, that there was that separation immediately from Kyler Murray and the offensive side of the ball. Having a head coach, as we all know, is critical, but a defensive-minded head coach is going to stand off with that offensive coordinator who's really going to be working with Kyler Murray on a day-to-day basis, with the quarterback coach, a day-to-day basis. I like the fact there's separation between the head coach and between Kyler Murray. Listen, I'm the head coach here. You're the quarterback, and there's nothing wrong with that whatsoever, but I will tell you what to do. That's the way that it works. He's got to be the alpha male in the room. And from what I understand, I actually know my phone blew up, guys. I'm not a reporter. I don't have a bunch of inside contacts who I'm constantly in touch with, and my phone blew up when Jonathan Gannon was actually hired as the head coach of the Arizona Cardinals. And it was from guys, I hesitate to say their name, but Bernie Kosar. How about that? Okay. And it wasn't just Bernie, of course. It was a lot of other guys. Bernie Kosar saying, you are going to love this guy because they know him personally. And I think Bernie would be okay with me sharing that he was this guy is a stud. And that's exactly what they need. They need somebody who's going to be an alpha in the room and a guy who's high energy. And Jonathan Gannon is all that and more.
Well, first of all, it looked like he ran pretty well, huh? He was running down the hall and going to meet Kyler Murray. I thought, hey, the dude can run.
I don't think he's taking out too many double teams.
No, probably not.
Don't get me started on not having double teams, by the way. Okay.
Hey, let me just say this. No, let me say this to you. You are one breaking reporter. This show is hard format, news breaking. The Cardinals, Jonathan Gannon, it was not staged.
Well, we're a little late, Soda Pop. I'm just telling you, because on my show, of course, I talk 4 hours a day. Nobody ought to talk 4 hours a day. I actually said that earlier as well. So I don't know if we could call it breaking.
All right. Well, that's good news. And I'll tell you, the next thing is one more thing before we head to the Super Bowl, and that is this. And Derry, I was thinking about this because I wanted to see what the idea is, who's talking about the Steelers, and it's Hines Ward, apparently. And Hines is saying, I think it's unfair to compare Kenny to Ben's situation. When Ben came into the league, we had a veteran group with every position loaded with guys that are already Pro Bowlers or all pros. When Ben came into it, it was really just Ben. Don't mess it up. The Steelers are so young. They're very talented, but they're so young. Hines Ward.
Exactly so, and it's great words right there from Hines. The fact of the matter is Ben stepped into the lineup after Tommy Maddox got doinked in Baltimore. So you got young Ben steps up. He's got a great defense, a record-setting defense behind him. He's got the Bussy. He's got Hines. He's got Heath Miller. You got a lot of people, Alan Faneca, lining up on the offensive line. There was a veteran offensive line. So just as Hines said, it was all kind of laid out. But Gadzooks, nobody could tell the impact that you got in Ben Roethlisberger. He goes 15-1 stepping in at starting, and from being a starter. It was really incredible. No, he didn't throw for 250, 300 yards each and every week. He seemed to be so effective throwing the ball 15, being 15 of 20 or 15 of 22, $175, that sort of thing. And it just complemented great with Bussy just tearing it up and running over people. The offensive line, 66, Alan Faneca, just dropping bomb on everybody out there. Jeff Harding's, you talk about ham hock power on the inside. These guys would dial it up, and they just drove guys backwards against their will, like it's supposed to happen in the trenches, baby. It was just fun to watch, being on the sidelines, being down there as an old man, you're taking in the testosterone and the blood and everything else. Man, it was such juice, and it was just great to be and watching that from the sideline. So, yeah, it's difficult to compare Kenny Pickett's situation with Ben because you don't have the same elements there. But Kenny's going to be good. Mark my words. You watch him. He's already good. But right now, this young man is going to excel, I think, down the road.
What's his nickname?
His nickname is the Sundance Kid because he's better when he moves. All right?
That's right.
So move, Kenny. You're better when you move.
Oh, right. That's fantastic. And, I'm going to say it one more time, and I know I have to keep saying it just to keep reaffirming to myself because he's a Pitt guy, and I'm all in on a Pitt dude, man, as a Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback.
Yeah.
And you know who got me over that Pitt thing into the NFL? It's Pitt. Pitt I still don't like, ever. Larry Fitzgerald.
Of course.
That's your guy, Pony Boy. I mean, that's it, man. So,
of course.
Dude's got the most class that I've ever met anybody. And if I say he could be that I could at least like a Pitt guy when he's in the NFL.
That's right. And you know what Fitzy's nickname is? The Japanese fighting fish.
Yeah, that's right.
Deadly, and single-minded of purpose when he gets in the red zone. By the way, just for the record, Fitzy hates that nickname. He does, which is why I use it every opportunity I get because he can't stand that nickname. But just go ahead and Google it, Japanese fighting fish, and look at the profile. Tell me it isn't similar.
But here's the thing. I actually had one of those Japanese fighting fish when I was at Syracuse. I had it in a bowl in my room. Two things didn't survive my dorm room experience as a freshman, okay? The Japanese fighting fish, because I fed it Oreos, and a cactus. And both of them went down, so sorry.
Crap, we're going to have PETA all over us because you fed this
I thought the fish liked it. I had fish food. I was feeding it good, but then, I kind of liked Oreos, and he was looking at me like very lovingly. He had the gills going, and he's looking at that bag of Oreos. I'm like, well, of course he wants some Oreos. Oreos are good food. All right, so yeah, sorry about that one.
Next,
there's one stat that nobody knows that's trivia is that Larry Fitzgerald is 1,000% in tackling opponents, but his only opponent's ever been is you, Pony Boy. He's tackling you. He's like 5 for 5 in tackling you, which is a different story we want to get into, but it is funny stuff. If you ever look at Larry Fitzgerald and Ron Wolfley and Larry taking him down.
Yeah, Google it, my young crux.
You mean we don't have film of that? Come on.
No. We do. Oh, okay. Yes, I just thought of that. All right. Well, it gives me a month to prepare.
Well, don't even worry about it, Soda. Next.
All right. So next, of course, is the Super Bowl. And there's only one thing I can do is play what our take was on the Super Bowl. Very short. I cut it down, but I put in the essentials of it all.
I don't like making predictions. I don't, educated though they may be. I don't like it because too many people bang on their chest when they get it right and then ignore it when they get it wrong. You know what I mean?
And that you're ready to go. Otherwise, this is a great matchup of two teams who have a lot of similarities. And I look at it, quite possibly that the deciding factor could be the experience of Mahomes over Hurts.
What about you, Soda Pop?
Pat Mahomes, I bet against him before and I've lost. I don't know why I'm doing it, but I'm going with the Eagles because of the offensive line. I believe in them, and I really think they're on a mission. And you know what? Got to tell you, man, I do love Philly cheesesteaks. Well, the Philly cheesesteaks suck this week, but I'm going to tell you this. The offensive line I was talking about is against the Kansas City Chiefs, as they did not allow a sack by the best pass rushing defense out there. So, Pony Boy, I got your respect, because even though I couldn't pound on my chest for victory, I'm owning it.
Yeah, you know what? I love that, too, because, Soda, you were wrong. And so many people that do this, they don't want to admit they were wrong. But anyways, you know what I was so grateful for first and foremost, guys? This was a great game. This was a great game. We had a Super Bowl that was a contested Super Bowl, and we had a Super Bowl in particular going into the fourth quarter that was contested. This was a football game. And even though there was a bit of controversy that I didn't like, and I know we're going to get into that, Even though there was a bit of controversy, for the most part, it was a fairly clean Super Bowl. They let the boys play, and I love that, the fact that it was contested. It was a great game.
No question about it. All the above, Mahomes is just developing and carving out a Hall of Fame career already. I mean, the things that he's doing on the field are just here's the thing. Back in the day, there was one guy that I'd get off my butt off the bench and get a Gatorade and watch, and that was Barry Sanders. All right. I'd come off the field when we were playing Detroit. I'd grab my Gatorade, go stand on the sidelines because you wanted to see for yourself what Barry Sanders would do. I would do the same thing with Pat Mahomes if I was on the opposite side. I'd come back out to watch what he can do because what the guy does out there is truly amazing. And it's I don't know, you can't even properly put it into context just how great he is.
And you know what's the terrible thing about it is I keep saying I'm not going to bet against Pat Mahomes, and I do. Yes. I'm going to say, well, and I'm not going to now again, but I know that Josh Allen's going to come up against him again, and so I'm going to bet against him. And I hope I win, but I don't know if I will because that dude is special. And talking about special, this is Nate Burleson and his uncanny prediction of the Super Bowl 57.
Reid, I do believe he is going to coach his best game that we've ever seen. It will be creative, it will be fun, it will be explosive. I have the Chiefs winning this 38-35.
First of all, Nate,
and Patrick Mahomes will be the MVP.
You hear that? So 38-35, Andy Reid's going to be the best coach in his entire career in creative, and you could argue with that, but obviously it was incredible. And of course, Pat Mahomes is the MVP.
It is incredible right there. Well done by Nate, of course. By the way, why don't I have a jacket like that? Do you guys have a jacket like that?
Well, I don't know why you don't have hair like that either.
Here's one of the things that I thought was really, really cool. The Philadelphia Eagles, of course, they're known for being able to run the ball. And the Kansas City Chiefs did a good job of really shutting that part of the Eagles' offense down. The Kansas City Chiefs are not known for being a good running team. This is the reason why, guys, I continue to say that you've got to build an offense in the National Football League that is capable of being whatever you need to be in order to beat your opponent, whoever that may be. All season long, it was very, very clear that the Philadelphia Eagles, the one Achilles heel they had, and this is something we talked about, is stopping the run in between the tackles. That is the one Achilles heel they've had pretty much all season long. It hasn't been awful. It hasn't been ridiculous, but they want to rush you. They want to rush your passer. One of the big ways to take that away from them is to run the ball. The Kansas City Chiefs came out in that second half on that first possession where they took the ball 10 plays down the field, touchdown to get within 3 points, that they ran the ball 6 times in those 10 plays. 7 if you count Pat Mahomes pulling the ball down and running 26 yards, which was an incredible play, a Hall of Fame play by Pat Mahomes with a high ankle sprain to pull the ball down and run the way that he did. But that was 7 times, if you count that they ran in that possession. That was the difference of the game. The Kansas City Chiefs ran the ball, and then you flip it over and you look at it. The Chiefs' offense is known for what? Throwing the ball. That's what they do. Man, it was the Philadelphia Eagles who were chucking the ball all over the place. And Jalen Hurts, if they would have won that game, if the Eagles win that game, Jalen Hurts wins the MVP, even though he fumbled the ball.
Absolutely.
No question. Exactly.
Go ahead, Derek.
So here's the thing about it, too. When a team has so much sacking going on like they do, part of the problem becomes that they start to think they play the run game on the way to the quarterback. And that then, it leaves the linebackers hanging because defensive guys, when you got that taste of red meat, when you're on the hunt all the time, you're not playing through your reads. And that was part of the problem. You could see that the Eagles were not playing their run reads the way they're capable of doing. I mean, let's face it, you have outstanding defensive players. You've got to make sure that they're going through their run reads, because you got to be able, you can't just flip the switch to pass rush all the time, and that's, that leaves you hanging, and that's certainly what was exploited. Pat Mahomes, you talk about the courage to tuck that ball and run when you've got a busted up ankle, and he said, Lord God Almighty healed him. I believe it, because let me tell you something. For that dude to do what he did in that instance, and I've had high ankle sprains. I think you guys probably have all had it. I cracked a bone in one of those high ankle sprains. It's not an easy thing, man. It's hard to play with. And so you got to give a lot of credit to Pat Mahomes and tucking that ball and running with it as he did. And the fact that Chiefs offensive line, which I thought was going to really struggle against the Marauders from the Eagles, no, they did fine. They did fine.
I love what you both said, and it is why I love the game of football, because it doesn't matter what I think. It doesn't matter what you think. It matters what they think and do. Right. And if they say, we're going to go punch these Philly Marauders and take it to them, and they go do it, that's what I love. And it doesn't matter. I don't care who you are. Yes, Roddy.
Yes. Let me just jump in, to your point, and say also, I wanted to just Andy Reid and his coaches, Eric Beienamy, what an unbelievable, what a great job of looking at it, saying, we're not going to panic. We're down 10 at halftime. I get it. It didn't look bad. Hey, listen, the Eagles were dominating this game for the most part, and yet you're down 10 points, and you come out in the second half, and you don't throw the ball all over the place. You run the ball. To have the patience, Andy Reid, in particular, we all know what he did in the Kansas City Chiefs. Eric Beienamy, what they did once they got inside the 10-yard line to confuse the coverage schemes of the Philadelphia Eagles. We all know what happened there. But to me, the thing that really changed that game was a mindset of saying, if we're going to win this game, even though we're down by 10 points, we're going to come out and run the ball and put Pat Mahomes in a more balanced offense. And that ultimately won the game for him.
And may I just add, courage, man. Patience, yes, but more courage. In the hot spot, saying that's courage to change and say, let's go to this game plan. Because obviously what we're doing is not working. Right. Down by 10 at halftime, I was concerned for the Eagles that they should have been down by 20, 21. I mean, that's really the way that they got outplayed in the first half. Obviously, giving up 7 points on a fumble, really hurts you. Don't do it. Don't want to do that in the Super Bowl, right? But no doubt. Anyways, it was a great contested game. And you want to talk about Andy Reid, and I know you just wore that shirt there, Derry, so that not only do you blend into the wall, but that you could say me and Andy Reid got the coolest shirts out there.
So I'm going to give you a name for it. All right?
Yeah.
It's called Corn Dog. So,
it's called what?
Corn Dog.
It's not called Corn Dog.
Oh, yeah.
Is it called Corn Dog?
There's nothing better than a good corn dog with some mustard and ketchup.
But he doesn't step into the huddle and say corn dog.
Oh, no, he says corn dog.
He does?
So that whole thing about
there you go.
There is, he said corn dog for a fake motion rollback. I mean, go ahead. You love Andy Reid, so I wanted to give that to you.
Thank you so much. I love it. Andy and Reid and I, we got 3 things in common. We're both offensive linemen, all right? We both love Hawaiian shirts. And we both love hamburgers. You know what I mean? Corn dog aside, that's another form of, meatified, stuff on a stick. You know what I mean?
Meatified.
It's just, yeah, you know what? I mean, you got to have meatification going. If you're an offensive lineman, man, you've got to be meatified. You got to be a predator. You got to be one of those guys that, you are totally in as a meat eater. I love to eat anything at one time had a face and parents. You know what I mean? So it all works out. Me and Andy, copacetic.
All right there. Hey, Pony, the word is that Beienamy and Andy Reid got that off of Peterson from the Panthers, because they did that in week 4. and they show that same play, and they show Philly what they do in man coverage like that with the motion, and they cut it up. I saw it. It was pretty darn cool that Beienamy picked that up. And speaking of which, what's your boys' take? And just real quickly, I don't want to get too heavily into it, but that he's not right now a head coach and not getting looked at. Pony Boy, go ahead. You got any comments about that?
Yeah, first of all, I think he's got to get out from underneath the shadow of Andy Reid. I really do. I think he's got to go somewhere and prove that it's not just Andy Reid, but it's also Pat Mahomes, that he can have success somewhere else outside of Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid, 2 Hall of Famers. Think about that. I think he's got to prove that. Also, the fact that he's not always the play caller. I'm sorry, that is a point of contention as well. He's not the play caller from time to time. He has called the plays for the Kansas City Chiefs, but I think that is one of the areas he's going to have to improve at, I think. And to get credit, I think he's got to call the plays. And then finally, guys, I'm going to say this right here. He's 5'7". And, I think that commanding the room is important in today's NFL. And although it's not the end-all, be-all, I think that those are some of the reasons why Eric Beienamy has not been hired, though he's interviewed many, many times. And the NFL wants teams to hire Eric Beienamy.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we also know that Eric Beienamy is qualified for the job too. I mean, the guy's got great football knowledge.
Yes, he is.
No doubt about it. The problem is when you are under the shadow and the wings of an Andy Reid, and you have to share some of the play calling duties, it does muddy the waters a little bit. Now, the 5'7" thing, if you can fix, you can get a box to stand up behind the podium or whatever. It is important to command the room, no doubt about it. But I think that's something that, no doubt he would have no problems in, really. But the fact of the matter is, not calling the plays all the time, being under Andy Reid, those are things that, they do dissuade some certain people. I hope that he gets an opportunity, because I think he's one of those guys. He's one of those bright, shining lights who has, a real grasp of NFL football, And by the way, there's got to be a shout out today, too, to the great John Mitchell, who stepped down and retired today from the Steelers organization. I forget how many years he's been there.
29.
This man is awesome beyond belief. What a great career. If there was a Hall of Fame for assistant coaches, John Mitchell would be in there. Oh. He was one of the first to break the color barrier at Alabama. I mean, he is just a great man of God and a great man, period. And salute to you, John Mitchell, on a great career, because you are just one of the very special people in the NFL. And the NFL will be worse for your retiring, brother. That's for sure.
Let me just also jump in and reiterate the fact that I believe Eric Beienamy deserves to be a head coach, too. Yes. I just want to say I want to jump in and say I believe he deserves that opportunity. I'm just speculating as to why so many teams have interviewed him, so many teams, and for whatever reason he has not been hired.
Yeah.
Well, there's people that have come out and said they don't like the way he coaches too. I'm not getting involved. I don't know. But there are former players that say he's the reason why I left Kansas City. And I've heard two. Again, it's all speculation. I know this. I don't think there's, at this time of hiring coaches, that, this is a great time for that, of hiring coaches of color, of trying to get them in there. I really do believe that. At least they're trying. And the Steelers, obviously, we all know, are the leaders in that. So I encourage it. I welcome it. And I do believe that Eric Beienamy, has or should have an opportunity at one point.
No question. The guy's more than qualified.
Exactly. So let's go continue. And by the way, I didn't bring up John Mitchell because I saw an hour from this show at the beginning, and I didn't know if you knew about it, so I didn't want to jump in on it. But you're right. 29 years is something special.
He is unbelievable, man.
Now, and moving on with that to this right here with listen, guys, we keep saying, that Pat Mahomes is special, but I watched this video, and this is special.
3rd and 15, picked up by Mahomes at his shoe top, trying to fight for more time to run. He'll scramble. He's at the 35, but he's ankle tackled there at the 36. And he's hurt. Mahomes is hurt. He'll get up limping.
He's in agony on the sideline right now.
He rolled it. I'll be fine. I'm good. Let's get it, baby. Let's get it. Let's get it. Love the moment, man.
Comes in motion. Here comes pressure to the outside. As Mahomes steps up, he's going to scramble.
What a run by Mahomes up 26 yards.
He is limping back to the huddle. Don't underestimate how tough Patrick Mahomes is.
You know, I watched that. I watched him at Texas Tech. I was there at Texas Tech watching him play the Mountaineers. I watched him come to West Virginia. The man was amazing then. I had no idea that I was going to watch this guy and say, this guy on a football field can do just about anything, continue a play, make it go. But when he's there in that pain, and you see him put his head on his shoulder of his trainer, and there's a bond there, there's a relationship there that we all have at it with our trainers, and the pain, and a lot of people don't understand. And there's moment of intimacy in there, tenderness, and also toughness beyond belief. And, you know, Terry, what's your take on it, man? It's just, you know, if he was a legendary before, he's a legend right now.
You know, I think his legend was being built real fine before this season and all. The fact of the matter is what we just saw is a display of a guy who is stronger in the mind along with his body. You know, I mean, the fact is when you're able to put aside the pain to be able to do the things that he did, the necessary things that he had to stress his ankle over, you know, there's only one comment that I can think of, you know, and that's from our brother, the late great Tunchok, and he say he's tougher than woodpecker lips, baby. Let me tell you something. That's a great job of putting the pain back. You click it off in your head. You find some way to you know, take that nerve and shut it off in your head, and you go out and get the job done. Kudos to Pat Mahomes. That's the way it's supposed to be done.
You know, there's a scene in the Dead Poet Society where a guy stands on a chair and he says, "Oh, Captain, my Captain," right? You know what I'm talking about.
Right.
So, and that's the way that I felt watching Patrick Mahomes go out there and ball the way that he did, especially on that run after rolling his ankle, and to run the way that he did. It was, "Oh, Captain, my Captain." And what's really cool about it is Patrick Mahomes, I think, would tell you that he'd stand on a chair and say, "Oh, Lord, my Lord."
Yeah.
And that's something that I know we all love and respect. And, yeah, Patrick Mahomes and the legend thereof cannot be measured with human hands.
You know, I think it's interesting that LT, Lawrence Taylor, this past week came out and said Tom Brady is great in the numbers and all that, but the best quarterback ever is Joe Montana. And, you know, no one's really going to break Tom Brady's records, I don't think. At least not in my lifetime, I don't believe. But if it ever happens, you know, I think that Pat Mahomes is a guy that's like a Joe Montana. He's bigger than the yardage. He's bigger than the stats. He's bigger than life. You know, you guys used to tell me that you could do all the X's and O's that you want on a board, but they're not living and breathing. And Pat Mahomes is a perfect example of that heartbeat of breathing of a player. When you got that O right there, and that's the one you got a Pat Mahomes, you got more than something drawn up last on the chalkboard or the grease board, whatever you want to call it. That's really special. And that heartbeat, man, makes a difference to 10 other guys on that field.
Yeah.
Well, anyways,
no doubt about it.
I'm sorry, guys. I was moved by that whole thing, man. I still am. Still affected by that because it just, to me, was so special.
think about this. We've played with, we've watched, we've seen players overcome injuries, and just, it takes a special sort of dude to do that. It's hard. It's awfully hard. And you've got to dig deep within yourself. You've got to find the wherewithal to overcome whatever it is that's holding you back. I remember way back in the day, before my first playoff game, on the Friday, the last practice of the week, Friday before a Sunday playoff game against the San Diego Chargers. And on the last play of the last practice of the week, I broke my thumb, all right? It was just one of those things. It was, because we're fully padded and we're going at it, and I broke my thumb. So I'm sitting there in the locker room afterwards. I got ice on my thumb, and I'm thinking to myself, oh, this is great. I'm playing Gary Big Hands Johnson, who was one of the top defensive tackles in the NFL, who had a great outside club. I got my left hand with the broken thumb. I got to be strong with that outside hand to catch that shoulder before he can club me. So I'm thinking to myself, what am I going to do? I got 48 hours, and this thing is killing me. And I'm from across the locker room, I hear this, I look over, and it's L.C. Greenwood, the late, great L.C. Greenwood, pass rusher extraordinaire, member of the Steel Curtain, everything, right? And he looks at me and goes, boy, now we're going to find out what kind of ball player you are. Anybody can play this game healthy. Let's see what you do when you're not quite so healthy. And you know what? It's true. That was handed down to me as I handed on later to younger guys. That's the nature of the beast. That's the way the game is played. And Pat Mahomes, you're a man. You stood up. You did a man's job there, brother. That was awesome.
I love the salute there, brother. Okay, so with this game of football, again, Super Bowl is a high and a low. Nothing higher and lower than for the Kelce family. And let's just check this out with the mother. You see Travis, you see Jason. It's just something that's really cool. And when you go through so much in football, and I'm just trying to just say there's so much effort, there's so much pain, there's so much bleeding, there's so much everything. You put your whole effort into it and go up for the big results, and sometimes you get it, sometimes you don't.
Couch! How about it, Joe? It's Mama! Mama! I love you, Ma. How about this? I had the week of your life, I had the year of my life. How about this? I already saw Trav. I'm looking for my parents. I don't know if they're down here yet.
Great game, brother. Hell of a season.
Thank you.
We'll see you back here next year. How about that?
Joe. Let's celebrate with Trav. Okay.
I really love that. He's go celebrate with Trav. I mean, those brothers, we've never been in a Super Bowl together. We've had our ups and downs. You guys have been broadcasters for your teams, but you have played against each other in NFL games where Hoopy, our mother, had to be kind of just like that. So much joy for the winner and so much pain for the loser. Who do you choose? It's not a choosing. It's just that heartfelt thing. And I think America, if they already didn't love the Kelces, they love the Kelce family now.
No doubt about it. I mean, just watching that just grabs your heart, man. It's just beautiful. I remember after Super Bowl 40, I'm out on the field. I'm waiting all the confetti's coming down. And who but my bride, Faith Dale, she makes her way onto the field. And it was, you talk about being surprised, man. I got my bride right there, and we're just standing out there watching them with all the confetti coming down. It was just awesome. It was crazy. And then Super Bowl 43, Ronnie's in the booth, for the Cardinals, and I'm on the field, and Chalucha's in the booth for the Steelers, and it was just such a great and awesome time. And it was, those moments, they're just bonding. They're historical. They're things that, it's hard to put into words the emotions that run through you, and then even the fact that Ronnie and I have played against each other, I remember when he came over to dinner the day before the first time, he played in Pittsburgh. And I remember, that in the special teams meeting that day, they were going to kick the ball at him because he was such a devastating blocker on the kickoff return. They wanted to take his blocking out of the equation. So there I am all night long. I want to tell him, look, watch out. They're going to kick the ball at you, And you know that, hey, blood is thicker than anything. But at the same time, the boys are dependent on you to keep your big yapper zipped. And I remember when I dropped you off at the hotel the night before the game, you started to walk away, and I go, Ronnie, and you turned around, and I go, I got to tell you, and you looked at me, and I'm like, I go, just be careful tomorrow. It was so funny. And Ronnie just looks at me and goes, I know what you're trying to say. I got it.
No,
that was it.
Yeah, I love that, Craig, because I do remember that. I remember that specifically. And it was kind of weird because you didn't want to tell me something, and yet I was like, okay, what could it possibly be where he's tripping over himself not to tell me?
Right.
And so I just assumed I was a target all the time for people because, I knocked people's Richard in the dirt. I'm sorry. It's just what happened. And it's not like I didn't get killed either. I got killed. Of course. It's just the nature of playing in transition, special teams, very, very brutal. But, in regard to blood being thicker than water, indeed, I remember talking to you when the Steelers were going to come down, and that's back when you guys had the heavy jerseys, the heavy black jerseys. You were going to come down and play in Tempe, of course, and that was an outdoor stadium, and it was in October. And it was 120 on the field. And I was calling Craig, and I told him all week long, listen, you got to hydrate. You got to hydrate. You got to hydrate. Make sure you're hydrated. He said, yeah, Ronnie, no, I am. I said, yeah, just do it all week, Craig, because it's going to be really, really hot. And you had already stayed over in some places like Miami, as a matter of fact, where you would stay over in the hospital because you'd go into a full body cramp from time to time. Yeah. So I was warning you about that. And suddenly we're on kickoff return, and no, it was kickoff cover, as a matter of fact. Yeah, because I came onto the field, covered the kick, and started cramping up, and I went down to the ground. My calf was cramping, and you came running onto the field because you were the offense for the Steelers. You whacked me on top of the helmet. You said, I told you to hydrate.
I remember this.
I remember that. It was a little quid pro quo, one thing in exchange for another.
There you go.
Well, I'll tell you this. This is my quick story that I didn't play against you guys, but you were there for the national championship when I played against Notre Dame. And there was nothing like having family there for disappointment. Nothing like it. You guys knew what I've been through. You knew what I went through. You knew my emotions. And having you there, having Hoopy there, having the family there, but you guys were there, and you were on the sideline with me at the end. So So that's my story for it, and it meant a lot. And you could just see it through the Kelces and relive it through the Wolfleys in my mind, and that's the cool thing. And I think a lot of America could relate to that as well. So we'll continue on, but really cool moment in history in the game of football for me. Now. All right, so you knew we were going to come to this one and the call, and I have nothing else I can say. I'm going to play it for you, and I want to hear what you guys have to say.
Worst case scenario, you'll see James Bradbury. They're going to say he grabs him. He's got his left hand on his back. I don't know.
Again, it's continuing on. I took the sound out because I didn't want to keep hearing his voice, but you're seeing this. I understand it's a holding call. He admitted it. Bradbury, but is this a holding call when they didn't even have any holding calls in the offensive line? Is this the proper time in the Super Bowl? Is there a timing when, unless it's really atrocious, that you make that call, especially when it's 35-35? My emotions at the time were, man, I'm just so upset that we're not going to see a great ending. That's what I wanted to see, a great ending. More than I wanted to see the Philadelphia Eagles win, and I called for them to win, but I wanted to see a great ending, and I thought we lost that. And Pony Boy, I'm going to start with you on that one.
Yeah, it's mixed feelings on this. It really is. James Bradbury, to his credit, actually came out after the game, as you said, and said, I held, yeah, it was by rule, it was a holding call. The thing is, we did not see any of that. The officials were letting them play for the most part. You can't tell me that was the only holding call that actually happened out on the field. They were letting them play, and I think if it was a penalty in the fourth quarter, it had to be a penalty in the first quarter as well, and in the second quarter, and the third. I mean, the only thing a player wants is consistency out of the Eagles. That is the only thing that we can ask for, is that they will be consistent. And, you know, I'm not attacking anybody. I'm not attacking the back judge on this. I'm not attacking them for throwing the flag. At the same time, it seemed a little ticky-tack to me. But I don't necessarily think that cost him the game anyways. We'll never know. Because the Chiefs were able to run it down to 8 seconds and kick the field goal, of course. But, yeah, I didn't like the fact that it came down to that. It was a great game, and I didn't want to see it decided by a holding call in the secondary.
You know, I can't remember how close the ball was when it was thrown, you know, where it was, what it landed, you know, regardless. And Ronnie, you laid out a great, you know, sequence of thoughts there. I simply go, you're down to the last couple minutes of the game, man, unless it's something that is so out there, you know, kind of like I remember Terry Bradshaw's last game, you know, it was December 15th, 1983, and it was at Shea Stadium. And you know what? It was just when he had the elbow injury and he couldn't get touched. You know, I tackled the dude. You know, the guy was on a twist stunt, and you know, it was all I could do. I was caught, and I knew he couldn't touch Brad. I tackled him. That was flagrant. That was probably the most flagrant foul in the history of the NFL, and I was guilty of it. Okay, I get that. Yeah, you get flagged like that, but when you have a situation where the nuances of it are such that, you know, it didn't really inhibit Juju from getting to where he needed to be. You know, there was not the big turning of the shoulders and everything like that. I got to go, golly, man, you might want to eat that flag for the last couple of minutes, because you don't want to have to go out there and change the trajectory of this game, which was a great game. And it still was a great game, but yet that finish just kind of makes you sit there and go,
Yeah.
Yeah, and I will say this, as I said before, one of the best contested games, the Super Bowls we're talking about, ending on a flat line. And because he actually couldn't score a touchdown to tell his kids, I scored a touchdown once in the Super Bowl, because he had to sit on the 1 yard line and run the clock out, which was a smart play, but I don't like football that way. I don't like that ending. And for me to throw that flag, he better tackle Juju. He better tackle him. So it was so obvious out there, because Pony, Terry, you've said it all season long. As players, me as a player, all we want is consistency from the refs, because then we know the rules. And ending the Super Bowl that way, to me, was just a bummer. Heartsick. Yeah. I'm not mad at anybody. It's part of the human game. People make mistakes. But to throw that flag there without tackling them and really without doing that, you know, Tony Dungy disagrees with that. He thinks that if you're going to pull the jersey, it's always should be a flag. So that's what you hear from the others. You know, I'm not going to go against Tony Dungy now. I'm not going to say to him, I love that man. I respect that man. You know what I mean? I'm not going to say anything derogatory about him or his decisions.
Yeah, by the way, I got an opportunity to actually see Tony Dungy. He was down here, and I waited for him. I kind of fanboyed him. I jumped him when he got off. I was down at Media Row, of course, and Tony was doing all these interviews, and everyone wanted to talk to him. And he came walking off the stage, and I said, "Hey, Tony," I just said, I was surprised. I was shocked. He actually remembered me. I've met him face-to-face once, and it's Tony.
He's an incredible man.
He's so authentic and beautiful. What an awesome dude.
He is an awesome man. I love him and Lauren, his wife, dearly. They were great.
Yes.
Great folks. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, what do you expect coming from the Steeler tradition, right?
He's said to say hi to you too, Craig. So
I'm not surprised. He's a class man.
All right. Well, listen, my brothers. Okay, so this is episode 23. This is our last episode for 2022-23. Funny how that is 23 works out, right? But here's the good news, my brothers. We are being extended through the season. We are going to come back. We're going to film. And so you guys got to put this in your calendar now. And it's going to be March 15th with the release on Thursday the 16th. Come back. I want you rested. It looks like Darius all ready to go on vacation. So, I mean, I want you rested. I want you restored. Maybe, Derry, you can come up with some type of backdrop that's not falling during the show. Pony Boy.
You got issues, man. You got issues.
Pony Boy, fix your lighting there every week. My light's not working. I just got it. I can't figure it out. So let's try to get it together because we are coming back. We're on Spotify. We're on Podbean. We're on ArizonaSports.com. We're on Apple, Google Play. We're on TuneIn, okay? We're on Anchor. All right, we are there. We're on all the social media coming off from there. We want to thank, obviously, Parmar Stores for what they've done for us. They're awesome. Big B-Wall, baby. We love you, man. And, of course, we're coming at it, and we're like, yeah, we love this. Thank you so much to my two brothers. We've talked about this for a long time. I'd say years. We talk about this every summer that we meet at Hoopie's at the Wolfley compound in Rushford, New York, man. And we've talked about it, and it came to fruition. So I'm going to say, Derry, you're the oldest. Give me your take.
Real simple. Love you, Hoopie. The take is talk to Mom, and thank you, everybody who downloaded, who enjoyed an episode, who stuck there with us. We so appreciate you and your support. And God's blessings to you, each and every one of you. May you know the Savior's richest blessings in your life.
Yeah, that is awesome. That is well said by you, Craig, right there. Once again, I just want to thank everybody that has spent 1 minute listening to us this year, of course, in these 23 episodes. And I look forward to Lord willing, of course, extending this podcast, and it sounds good to me. So, I mean, we're talking March 15th, correct? Like you said, that is when we're talking about coming.
4 weeks, brother.
Yeah, 4 weeks. And your support has been fantastic. Thank you so much for that. And I get to sit around and see my brothers every week and talk ball and talk about the Lord. And to me, man, it just doesn't get a whole lot better.
Well, there's one thing that can help it out, brother. We need a little bit more food in the conversation. That's the one thing. I think we got to talk about food. But again, my two brothers, bros, thank you. I love you. Hey, we're out. Man. Love you, Hoopie. Pony Boy, did you say love Hoopie?
Love you, Hoop.
Alrighty. And the three wolves of football. The boys from Orchard Park, the outsiders, were out.